but the movie has like an uppercut waiting for you that you would never know existed. So you'd be having these comments. Oh, I've seen Whiplash. That kid was a good drummer, but you don't really know.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Kachiga.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a new one right there. Mm-hmm. And for music video sins, Barrett Share.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He does his yelp.
Yelp.
I sound my barbaric yelp.
A couple weeks ago, Jeremy was like, hey, I've got an idea.
He came to us.
Here's an idea. He came to us. Yes.
I did.
He came to us. I was at a Walmart and I was, I was shopping for dresses.
Yeah,
and he just came up to me and he said, I want to do this for the SinCast. And I was like, holy shit, Jeremy, you drove all the way from where you live to here?
To the Walmart.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry's in confession and then the door opens and it's George. He's like, Jerry, I need to talk to you.
But Jeremy said, hey, let's do a topic about, movies that if you were to sit 2/3 through it and then leave, that would be a bad idea.
Yes.
And you guys came up with a whole bunch of good ones. I'm going to start off as just as an example that I think is actually a bad example of this because it was the first thing that came into my head was The Village.
Oh yeah.
Now, technically, it's true. If you enjoy The Village, you enjoy the surprise at the end, all that, then yes, that would be a bad movie to walk out 2/3 of the way through. I could see why you would want to walk out 2/3 of the way through in The Village.
A lot of shittiness.
But the reason why I had a hard time trying to come up with really good answers for this question was I felt like it meant that you enjoyed the first... I don't know, it was slow or something, I don't know, for 2/3 of the movie, or there was something about it that you just weren't digging. Mm-hmm. But if you watch to the end, it would make all of that great. Whereas The Village, all of that just seems in the effort to get to a surprise ending. Yep. Where, you go back and watch The Village and you're like, oh, well, none of this stuff was good. It's just the ending that is surprising. So that's what I came up with as my first thought, but I think that's a bad example. You guys, you can come up with a better example.
Well, let me ask you two things. First of all, do you have the same feeling about Signs? Because at this point, after Unbreakable, M. Night got up his own ass about the surprise factor. It's not as prevalent in Signs as it is The Village, for sure.
Signs is the opposite, I think.
The mystery itself is more
like
fun
the first
than the
2/3
reveal.
is the better part of the movie.
I agree.
And then the last third is like, so it was aliens all along, was it?
And
they hate water.
Yeah. and then Joaquin Phoenix is following the go long or whatever the fuck he says. I always mess that quote up.
Swing away, Meryl.
Swing away, Meryl. Yeah, that's what he means. I will say go long again the next time we bring up.
I'm sure you will.
But it's one of those like, so his mom said something like swing away, like when she was bent over a fucking hood in her car and in that wreck and everything.
Yep.
That was sort of the surprise. I guess that was kind of I don't know if that was a surprise.
But you're right. No, that would be a good movie to walk out of 2/3 of the way through, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would say the exact same thing. We talked about second acts before, but the same thing with Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep is nearly a perfect movie before they go out to Colorado, I think. You actually don't mind that ending.
I don't mind it. This movie snuck up on me. I really like it a lot. And that last third doesn't bother me the way it does other people, but I've heard that's a common thing is once they go back to the hotel, it kind of loses momentum for me.
They've beaten her. They've beaten her entire crew, and that should be it. Like, that is a great ending to a very, very good movie, but then they had to tack that thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are all bad examples. Well, what's a good example?
I will tell you this. I did not conceive of this topic with regard to quality or enjoyment level. simply with regard to your understanding. So, as I said in the email, this was inspired by a Friends episode, as most things in my life are, where Phoebe growing up, her mother had always turned off Old Yeller before the dog was shot. Mm-hmm. And she thinks everything's happy. And the gang is watching Old Yeller, and she's like, "What you doing with that gun, Travis? Where are you going?" And she's now ruined for Old Yeller. She's now seen the real end. So what, for me, it was, what movie would it change what happened in terms of, like, your understanding? So the first one I want to talk about is Gone, Baby, Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do this.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit of an older movie. I'm going to go ahead and spoil a little bit of things here and there. But the first 2/3 is Casey Affleck and Michelle Monaghan being hired by the family to help augment a police search for an abducted missing 5-year-old girl who is at the meet, presumably, thrown into the water and drowned forever. Mm-hmm. And the movie even does this sad montage of driving through the streets, and Casey Affleck is narrating and like, this is how it works more often than not. We lose the kid. We don't find the kid. And if you cut the movie off right there, first of all, that's depressing as shit. Mm-hmm. And it may still be less depressing than finishing the movie.
But it's not like it's a cheerful ending anyway.
Right.
But after that, the last third, that kid is still alive. That kid, they find that kid alive at the end of the movie.
There's so much complexity in the ending of that movie.
Yeah, and it's just wrinkle after wrinkle. It takes what has been a fairly straightforward, procedural-looking drama and just bends it in on itself a bunch of different ways. And if you didn't have that last third, you'd be like, "Oh, I saw that movie. It was okay." It didn't really strike me.
You have the decision, of course. Yeah. You have the morality of Morgan Freeman's character. You have the intrinsic morality of Amy
Madigan.
Bring you down.
Who is it?
Madigan? Amy Madigan?
Amy Ryan.
It's Amy Ryan, yeah. I was about to say Adams, but I knew that was wrong immediately.
Wait, you're right, but Madigan is playing the sister.
Amy Madigan does play the sister. Yes.
So okay. We're both...
Amy Ryan is the drug addict mom.
Yes.
And you've got her morality. Should she do this? And, oh, God, I want to watch that movie again. It's been a while.
It's good stuff. Then you have that whole sequence where they go and find the other missing kid, but he's dead, and that completely informs Casey Affleck's decisions from that point forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you just think, boy, they failed. They didn't find the kid. The kid died. What a sad movie. Why would you make it? But then there's a whole other thing to come if you missed it.
You've got the I guess, closure of Ed Harris's character in that ending too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
You would include that in there?
Mm-hmm.
God, that's such a good movie. But you're right. It's actually a brilliant movie even up until then, just very real and everything. But, yeah, that whole thing takes it to a whole new echelon.
Yeah. So I got 3 or 4 others, but I figured we'd round robin this bitch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The one that I thought of first was The Mist.
Mm-hmm.
I liked The Mist all the way through. It's Thomas Jane, Marcia Gay Harden. That's close enough. And a few other character actors. It's a good movie. Perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Scary at times. They're all trapped. It's a bottle episode. They're all trapped in a store and everything. But without that ending, you would have forgotten that movie existed. Right? I mean, it's a Frank Darabont directed Stephen King story, so it's not going to be bad. But the choice that he made at the end of that movie is just... I'm trying to summarize my face when I watched that ending for the first time. It was...
That's a pretty good face.
It was this mix of like, no! Mixed with like, this is awesome! It was. I had the same face pretty much the whole time I was watching the Raid 2.
Well, I mean, that movie would work without the ending, because that movie is really not about the mist or the monsters. It's about how do human beings behave when they're clustered together in survival mode. And, Marcia Gay Harden's the religious, Bible thumper, and, there are 2 factions and warring over what should we do? Should we go out? That whole movie's about humanity. Mm-hmm. But to throw that ending on the end, of course, it's not the ending from the book.
Right.
And Stephen King has praised the ending of this movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know at least one person who hates this ending because they are a parent and they can't tolerate.
Oh, it's hideous. It's
mean,
hideous. Yeah.
basically, to parents. But from a writing standpoint, it's got to be one of the best endings I've ever seen.
Look, we're gonna have to spoil some of these things, so I'm gonna tell you what happens here because it's in a context. It's filmed so brilliantly. Not every filmmaker could get away with this. You have the shot in the car of Thomas Jane, the kid, and then 3 people in the back. And then he looks at the gun. There's a shot of the gun. Then there's a shot of all of them kind of looking at each other. Then it cuts to the outside of the car, and you hear psh, 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 psh. And you're waiting for that 5th one. And it doesn't come.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes back to Thomas Jane realizing he doesn't have any bullets, and then seeing the trucks come out of the mist.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Well,
gorgeous.
the reason it's so great is that he made the right choice. Like, he made what he felt was a loving, fatherly choice.
He's not the right choice. That's not the right choice.
With the information he had, it's the right choice. It's a right choice.
Sure.
If the choice is to shoot my child or let them suffer being eaten by a huge alien mist monster.
I'm going to take my chances on the
I'm
monster.
just saying.
I got you.
You can defend his choice
Yes.
with his information as the act of a loving father.
Yes.
It's just that the information changes 10 seconds later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking brutal.
Oh, it is. It is. And look, there's some brutality that I cannot take. I can't watch The Handmaid's Tale.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch, a lot of stuff. I know it's fiction and everything. I can't watch a lot of horror stuff. But for some reason, that is so well done that I have to just say that's just so fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And it contextualizes everything else in that movie. It makes it memorable. Otherwise, it's a average to good horror movie. I'm sorry, I've got a tooth thing. That's why my tongue's weird. So yeah, that really puts the capper on that whole thing, and I love it so.
Mm-hmm. And given how Jeremy started this question and to how I interpreted it and everything, I don't think I have great examples, but
what I love about this show is we frequently interpret these topics differently.
For sure, yeah.
And still have good conversations. So,
2001, A Space Odyssey, has 2/3. It actually has a climax. Its climax is 2/3 through the movie.
The Hal thing.
The
right?
Hal
Yeah.
scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then it has, I think it's like 40 minutes after that, where, Dave is going into the Stargate and everything. Now imagine you've watched this and, you're the type that gets bored easily, and like you watch that first half and you're like, God damn it, what's going on in this movie? Fuck this movie. And then the Hal stuff happens and you're like, okay, well that's, peace. That's a great ending.
Get off the wall. Yes. All right.
surely the credits are going to roll now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then you miss the whole like trippy Stargate sequence, and you miss Dave seeing his future selves all contained into that mysterious mansion room thing. Is it in space? Is it in the obelisk? We don't know. Fucking A, man.
Is there air?
Is there air? Yeah, we don't know. Like, does he have servants? It looks like he has servants, right?
Yep, it does.
But they don't show up anywhere in there saying, Dave, please don't leave us so early. You've just got here, and now you're 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to show up in the movie 2010 by Peter Hyams.
That's right.
But you would miss some of the coolest shit in this movie if you were to walk out at that point. I don't know why you would walk out at that point, but it's the same thing. I mean, I don't know of many movies that have that old Yeller kind of thing, right? Where, I mean, you'd have to go into maybe Where the Red Fern Grows or something like that to start getting into those kind of, into that kind of thing where let's cut it off here so that everybody's happy in the end and we don't distress anyone.
Yep.
But yeah, you would miss some of the most potent imagery in 2001.
Phoebe's mom also didn't show her the ending of Pride of the Yankees. So she got really mad when Lou Gehrig died.
Yeah.
And then it's Tom Selleck's character goes, Well, it's called Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
Didn't you kind of see it coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to understand that movie one bit if you don't see that ending.
You're not going to understand that movie one bit no matter what.
Oh, no. You can contextualize.
I think what makes 2001 such a unique film is that last third. I think it would have been a masterpiece if that wasn't there, but it's the discussion that last third has caused amongst film fans for years and years and years. Like Chris was saying, where is it? Is it in space? Is it in the obelisk? We don't know, and honestly, I'm not sure the filmmaker really wanted to tell us as much as just let us decide for ourselves.
I don't think he knew either, because I've seen some documentary stuff on this movie, and Arthur C. Clarke and he were doing this simultaneously. So Arthur C. Clarke was writing the book while they were making the movie. They didn't have a set story. Even if Arthur C. Clarke had written this book and it was based on this book, Kubrick would have gone the way he went.
Of course, yeah.
But there were people who worked on that film. The science advisor or whatever was telling him, you probably want to dial this down a little bit. You probably want to make it where it's a little understandable what's going on at the very end of this movie. Of course, Kubrick's not going to do that, but this is the guy that Kubrick has relied on this whole movie to make everything look so fucking amazing in it. And then at the end, when it's like, hey, could you maybe possibly tell us what the fuck's going on? He's like, nah.
No, but I mean, it does. Having the obelisk out there in space and him actually finding it and seeing the nature of time in the way that it is, and then the star baby, it is the star baby, right?
Yeah, something like that.
At the end signifies the rebirth and everything. That to me contextualizes why we had the apes in the beginning, why we had the weird squeal from the one on the moon, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That would be a fucking rotten ass shame if somebody walked
Yeah,
out
yeah,
back
yeah.
to the house.
It's like, well, all right, that's the part that I like. Let's just go ahead.
Well, and we don't even have to assume people are walking out. We can just assume somebody pulled a fire alarm or something.
Right.
And for whatever reason, you didn't get to see it, and your knowledge would be wasted. All right, so I'm picking one that Barrett should have picked, and I'm ashamed of him. And it's Whiplash.
I was choosing between this and La La Land.
And no, I it's not that Barrett should have picked it. It's that it's one of his favorite movies of all time, and I'm surprised he didn't. Having just seen this recently, I think this would play. If you had to leave 2/3 of the way through, you'd be like, "Wow, what a dick that teacher was." But I think that kid's going to make it.
Are you talking about if you had walked out after he tackles Fletcher?
I didn't pinpoint the exact moment. I don't have this movie memorized like you do.
No, I mean like in the time in which Miles Teller quits, Fletcher goes away, that kind of thing. Before
that would be
he picks him up at the jazz club.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. And then what I'm calling the final third is they bump into each other at the club. He gets invited to come play with this group. He gets fucked over, but then he fucks over the world. If you only saw the first 2/3, you would probably think this is a really solid examination of a high pressure prodigy type environment. But the movie has like an uppercut waiting for you that you would never know existed. So you'd be having these comments. Oh, I've seen Whiplash. That kid was a good drummer, but you don't really know what you're not saying because you didn't watch all the way to the end. And so that movie packs a wallop at the end.
I'm just trying to think of this. If you do cut that off, because he is shown back with his dad, like watching movies and eating popcorn. He hasn't reconciled with Supergirl, but he...
No, but you could assume he's making peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's taking his drums down and everything. And I forget, but it's been like 6 or 8 months or so in between that and when he runs into him at the club. So it's been a minute. But then it's almost like the entire movie is retold at that point. It resets. He's back to nothing, right? He tries to rekindle the love interest. He's still connecting with his dad. He gets back on the kit and everything. And then it's like he has a do-over, basically, right? And then he gets fucked over, and then he fucks over the world.
Can I just tell you, and you're going to hate me for this, I bet. But in my perfect world, he never plays drums again. I mean,
I could see that.
Maybe
I could see that.
Not like he doesn't like abolish drums, but I don't feel like the end there is about providing a future career in drums.
He's going back into that psychopathy, right?
Yeah.
Now there's no way out because he's hit that level.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be even more insufferable than he already was, arguably, right?
Yeah, I think his chance of leaving drums forever happens after the song is wrong at the beginning of that, and he has a chance to just walk away from it now.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, who could blame him? I mean, and nobody's going to remember him or anything. They're just going to be like, "Oh, I remember that time that one dude fucked up the song and he walked off." But then he comes back and he comes up with a performance that's not only amazing, but it impresses this asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in it for life now. I like the idea of him not playing drums after this, but there's no way.
You're right. I mean, for him as a character, either if he walked away when he threw all of that stuff away after his career ended in school, or after he fucks up at the he doesn't fuck up. He gets fucked over at the performance. Yeah, for his humanity, you're right. He probably is better served by walking away.
I just feel like, and it's probably utopian, but I just feel like that's a mic drop moment, right? And that's like...
Oh, you mean after this performance?
Yes.
After the badass drum solo?
Yes. Like, I have joked before, and I don't think I would do this, but I have joked that if I did ever get a hole-in-one on a golf course, I might quit playing golf forever.
That's not a bad idea.
Because it's never going to get any better than that.
You can't get less than one.
And so I feel, and again, Chris is right. I don't mean to suggest I'm arguing that point. He's going to be a drummer forever. But I like the notion that at the end, he's not drumming for his career.
Yeah.
He's drumming for his ego, and he wins.
Yeah.
He wins Earth at the end of that.
It's probably not gonna get any better than that.
No.
Than that feeling.
But Chris is still right. He's going to go drum for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But this will be the defining moment of his entire life, and it's awesome.
And he should, and going back to that, he should probably drop it right there. He's never going to get better than that.
Yeah.
That will be a never-ending search for that perfection again, and he will not get it.
Yep.
Hey, here's a shocker. I didn't pick Whiplash.
Yeah.
But I did pick The Godfather.
Well,
look,
one or the other.
You could 2/3 of the way through. You could get to the death of Vito Corleone. You could get. I mean, you could even take it further back to where they're planning on making it legitimate and stuff like that. To where everything, the war is basically over at that point. Vito dies. End of story. We move on. That kind of thing. If you cut that last third from that movie, it would still be a good movie. But you get to see, because at 2/3 through the movie, when Michael comes back and he tells Kay, "Hey, I want to marry you and have kids, even though I've been away. And by the way, I got married while I was away." And then she blowed up. And but we're cool now, right? Mm-hmm. And she gets in the car. Michael still has humanity, right? Mm-hmm. Starting at the baptism scene, where everybody knows this by now. But think about this. This dude has the giantest fucking balls. He's like, okay, I'm going to murder the heads of the 5 families in New York and all the boroughs, and the guy who started Las Vegas, Mo Green, the Howard Hughes character. I caught some of the Aviator the other day, by the way. That movie's fucking awful. Anyway, I'm going to kill all these people. Now, that's bad enough. I mean, that's ruthless enough. He does it while he's at his nephew's baptism, man. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. He's talking, I do reject Satan and all of his works and all of his work. I do renounce them. As he's fucking murdering these motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. That is cold. Then he murders Tessio. He murders Carlo. Like, he is just on a fucking spree. Mm-hmm. And to cap it all off, Connie comes into the office and she's like, "No, Michael, you do listen." And he has to calm her down. Clemenza comes in. And then Kay comes over and she's like, is it true? He's got one chance left at humanity to be like, he even tries to say, don't ask me about my business, Kay. Enough! And then he's like, all right, this one time you can ask me about my business. Is it true? No. Oh! It's chilling. It's chilling. That's almost as bad as all the other shit that he did beforehand.
And then her looking into the office as the guy's like, Godfather. And the door closes. It's one of the best scenes ever in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it.
That is where Michael Corleone becomes Michael the Don, the Godfather and everything. Even Vito wasn't anywhere near. This is why Godfather 2 is so great. Vito wasn't not nearly as ruthless as Michael was. Vito was tough, but it was because he wasn't going to take any shit from people, right? He was kind. Michael is the total almost opposite of Vito. There is no compassion there. There is no feeling there. He says family in name only. He's like Dom Toretto. He's saying, "No, this is all family. This is all business and all that stuff." But no, it's all to appeal to his monstrous nature. And I bet you Vito would have been just horrified to see what he ended up becoming.
It is the great thing about that movie, the character arc that he has, the whole thing, because he's supposed to be the guy who's not in this business.
Right.
And then things happen where he is sort of thrust into the business. And it's not on accident. He really wants to do this. He comes
up with the idea to kill the police officer and the Turk.
Yeah, and obviously he's had a little bit of an attraction to this thing. Once he does this killing in the restaurant and everything, he's all in. He goes to the old country. He gets hit by the lightning bolt. That's right.
And
he has the sex.
He has the Sicilian sex.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, they've gone to the mattresses over in New York, and he's hiding out, and he comes back after it's all calmed down, and then suddenly he's a cold, bloodthirsty motherfucker, man.
It's the craziest thing, man. I mean, even in Italy. He's living the good life. He seems like he's a good husband to Apollonia. I don't know how long he's even thinking about, he's going to take her back. He's going to take her back because he's like, when can I go back? That kind of thing. And then after Sonny gets killed, that's when Apollonia gets killed.
Yeah, and then Apollonia, Apollonia, no!
Oh,
so that probably was the last straw right there.
It probably was, but Vito's still alive at that point. He goes back and he has that wonderful conversation with him out. I wanted you to call the shots, Governor Corleone, Senator Corleone. And so he still has his humanity left, but it's almost like when Vito dies, he's like, okay, my turn.
Yeah.
And he
it takes a lot. I mean, you have Vito and you have Sonny. His. I mean, that's and then of course Fredo is just, he's such a weakling.
He has
to take over.
He does, and it's hilarious. This is what shows you about Vito. I'm sorry I'm going on too long about this, but when Michael is planning the move to Nevada and he names Carlo as consigliere, and Vito's in there like feeding the fish and shit like that. And Tom says, "Why am I out?" And you can see a little bit of that cold-bloodedness because Michael's like, "You're out, Tom," and that's it. And then Vito goes over and sits with him.
Wartime consigliere.
Exactly. He goes over and sits with him. And it is brilliant that they shield Tom from all this, by the way. But Vito sits with him and he's like, "I never thought you were a bad consigliere. I thought Santino was a bad Don. Rest in peace." Yeah. And you could tell that Vito even didn't think that Sonny was going to be good. He knew that Michael was the only choice for this. But he's like, that's why he says, he's like, "I never wanted any of this for you." So I think when he died, that last shred of humanity left Michael, and that whole last third of the movie makes the movie. The whole movie is fantastic up until then.
It's pretty amazing that they made one of the greatest movies of all time from what was considered a pulpy beach read.
Dude,
same with Jaws, right?
Dude, I was just about to like the Sonny, especially with Sonny. This is where the book is. the movie diverges heavily from the book, and thank fucking God it does. But the woman that he's having sex with at the wedding at the beginning, that's a bigger character in the book, and he's banging her, and he's got the whole thing is he's just got a big dick, right? And she worries throughout the book that she has too big of a vagina.
Oh.
Yeah. And then she starts, she sees a gynecologist about it, and the gynecologist and her start dating.
Oh.
And then he's like, I can help you with that.
Oh.
And helps her with that. That's all in the book.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You're just reading it going, what, really?
Oh,
this is in The Godfather? Why didn't they film that?
Oh, man. Can we talk more about how bad The Aviator is?
I forgot how that's Scorsese, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot how bad that is.
Everybody doing bad impressions.
It's not. I was about to say it's not Leo's fault, but it kind of is.
I don't think Cate Blanchett's very good. Doing Catherine Hepburn like this.
Yep.
And I don't think Jude Law's Errol Flynn is very good.
John C. Reilly's fine.
Fucking No Doubt walking the red carpet.
She's pretty,
just because she looks like Jean Harlow.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, she did fine, but that whole movie's just all over the place, man.
It's just a costume ball.
It's. I don't like it.
No, I think here's the problem. He uses a dick, and he's not likable.
Yeah, and I guess they did an okay job with that. Like, what I'm saying is that you're right. The movie made him unlikable, like in real life.
Sure.
But that's not fun to watch for 3 hours.
No, I agree.
Scorsese, just like Spielberg before him, was really looking for that Oscar, and he was looking for something that was. He did Gangs of New York, which was, I think, his first real try at I don't know if he had aspirations with The Color of Money or with Goodfellas or anything like. It doesn't really seem like it with Goodfellas. He's doing his thing. Yeah. And then Gangs of New York comes out, and it's good, but it's shot in a way that's very, please give me the Oscar. I'm doing so much for this movie.
Kidding. All
and
the
then,
slow motion.
And then he does The Aviator, which is like, okay, well, you guys don't like dark stuff, so why don't I make a biopic about Howard Hughes and make it all kind of likable and whatever you do. Make it look like an Oscar-worthy picture, and that really fell short, too.
You know what I just realized? Leo has made more biopics than I realized. This, J. Edgar Hoover, Catch Me If You Can is a biopic. Basketball Diaries is a biopic. Yeah. And I bet if I sat here and thought, I bet Blood Diamond is based on a real person.
Gilbert Grape.
All right now. All right now. At least Frank's paying attention finally.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's done more movies where he's playing a real person than I realized until just this moment.
Yeah.
Even Wolf of Wall Street, he's playing a real person.
Yeah, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
What is his best role?
Catch Me If You Can.
I think Catch Me If You Can. He's got more. I don't know. He does more with that than he does. And I like his Jordan Belfort too. I don't think I've ever seen DiCaprio that funny in a movie before.
He's outstanding. Yeah. I mean, he won for The Revenant, right?
Yeah,
but I don't think that's his best performance.
No, it's not.
Departed is great. He's great in Departed.
He is great in Departed.
He really did hold his hands that still.
Yeah,
and
that was wild.
I can't do it.
That was wild.
Mm-hmm.
You
want to chop me up and feed me to the poor? Is that what you want to do? No.
I would have to say Wolf of Wall Street, honestly, because he's so dynamic in that and so funny. But yeah, Catch Me If You Can is up there too.
I love him in
Growing
Romeo and
Pains.
Juliet. I just can't stand the movie.
Yeah.
I think he's awesome in it. Actually, Claire Danes is awesome in it too. It's just everything except the two of them in that movie needs to go.
They are good in that, aren't they?
Yeah.
I never really thought about it. I hate that movie so much.
Now, there's a movie you can't walk out 2/3 of the way through.
Great segue. Brought us back, baby. Brought us back.
The next two that I have this same sort of idea. Ex Machina is one that I think if you walked out 2/3 of the way through, it's easy if you were to watch Ex Machina to just go, oh, well, Caleb is going to get Ava out of her prison. They're going to get in that helicopter and they're going to fly away and and it'll be an uncertain future once that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and you would be forgiven for thinking that. Now, I don't know why you would want to walk away from Ex Machina 2/3 of the way through, but if you did, then you were going to miss the discussion that you're going to have with yourself after this, where she fucking fucks over Caleb so hard.
She does.
And all in the name of, like, I'm just getting the fuck out of here. I'm here for my needs.
Cold ass shit, man. Cold ass robot shit.
Yeah, exactly. And this extremely absurdly wealthy guy sort of getting his comeuppance. I don't know if he needs to die, but he think about all the evil shit he did to accumulate this kind of wealth and this land where they're flying over it, and is like, when do we get to his property? We've been flying over it for the past 15 minutes. And then he shows him, like, talks about all the cell phones and all the spying he's done to get Ava to be the most representative human as he can. He's done a lot of evil shit to get to this point. But no, I don't think he deserves to die, but I think he definitely deserves a good stab in the, nah, just kidding.
I don't think I've heard you may have said this before, but I don't know if I've heard that take from you. You're right?
What do you,
that he doesn't deserve to die?
I don't think he does. No, nobody deserves to die for that. Like, I don't know if he's done anything. It depends, I guess, on what you think of his creations
of AI, right? Because
yeah.
he's that whole sequence of him being so.
If you think
violent
his creations truly are really human and have felt pain from what he's done, then maybe he does.
I think
that's what the
like
movie-
a sex slave.
Yeah, he did.
I think that's what the movie is saying, right? By showing us that violent
There's also
streak.
that whole
Yeah.
layer we never talk about of his tech evils and the way
Yeah.
that he's
Yeah.
harvesting everybody's information, the way he even picks Donald Gleason.
Mhm.
I don't think he deserves to die, but I think he deserves to be cut a little bit.
Yeah, cut a little bit. Yeah.
I think he deserves to die. Maybe it's just the movie tricking me.
to die, and I hope he burns in hell.
Yeah,
It's probably what the movie intends me to think, and I'm just going along with it. But you have to think of, movie is tricking us, not tricking us, convincing us that Ava has sentience, passes the Turing test, right?
Right. But I think the program is so complex that we anthropomorphize these AI characters. Because I don't think behind that, all of that expression and everything that she knows gets her what she wants, is there a desire of any kind other than just to be free, and that's it. There's no.
Well, that's what the movie's really asking, right? What makes sentience? It's not passing the Turing test, because she does pass the Turing test, but she shows zero compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not human. I think that's why the movie's fascinating, is that she's both. She both fulfills the requirements and does not quite fulfill the requirements. And now she's fucking out there, man. What's she going to invent? What's she going to make?
Well, that's the singularity, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the... And I guess, yeah, it comes down to whether you think he has committed murder by doing all this to his creations. And you could argue that even Kiko, the other AI, she's not as advanced as Eva.
Yeah.
So
It is Ava.
it is Ava. So the ones that he viciously tore apart earlier, did they even meet the criteria? Because
Right.
Ava just barely meets it now,
It
right?
does look like such a cruel thing when we see all the times he's smashed these things up, right?
But I didn't think you deserved to die when you threw your wallet at your TV and destroyed it.
Right, exactly.
It's a machine.
You know what? It's kind of amazing how that has just come up all of a sudden
It's
in
got
everything.
legs,
I
man.
thought you
It's got
wrote
legs.
that sin.
No,
No,
Who wrote
Jonathan wrote it.
Jonathan wrote
Well,
it.
and Jonathan actually alluded to it in Slack before he may have actually written that sin before he wrote it on Slack, but the sin said throw your remote control at it, and I wrote a note saying it was my wallet.
And then he said, "Bitch."
Yeah. That's one of those things where you're sitting there going, oh, the wallet won't do anything. And I tried to do the most delicate thing that I was thinking at the time, and it smashed the shit out of that fucking TV.
Well, I'm glad you didn't die after that.
I'm glad I didn't die too. There was touch and go there for a second.
All right. I'm going to go with Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, good
How
one.
long is that ending?
Oh, God.
It's
40
a long
minutes?
time. It's a long time.
40, 45 minutes.
Because it
probably,
doesn't take him long, actually, in movie time to get to that mountain.
Yeah.
The mountain scene is just a real slow build.
Yep.
Like, you get to know all these characters, you see why they're here, blah blah blah. This is what we're doing, and then the ships coming in take forever.
Yep.
But it's
because
but
they send the little ones in first, right? And then they send the big one, and then the big one leaves, and then it comes back and all that. Yeah.
Right. So you watch that, and it's like you're fast. I mean, this is still to me the quintessential Alien movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is because there's more wonder in this movie than any Alien movie that's come afterwards. So
I agree. And I just think if you somehow were forced to not see the end, if you only saw the first 2/3, you might think he was insane.
Yeah.
And I could argue the movie wants you to be leaning that direction so that when we get to the end and you realize, holy shit, he's telling the truth, and there's all these other people out there that have the same experience. Oh, that's an alien right fucking there. Oh, my God. And I just feel like it's probably the best example I came up with in terms of it's a completely different movie if you don't watch the last third. It's good. It's still great. That first scene when the lights come and rattle his car, it's terrifying. Mm-hmm. And he starts making mashed potato things, and his wife is like legitimately
brings the mud in.
What do I do with this? Yeah. And, it turns out it's not really his fault. He's being called, as are these other people. I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I might even... If Jaws weren't sitting there, this would be my favorite Spielberg, I think.
There's a lot of holy shit moments at the end of that whole thing, because you've got the arrival of the little ones, you've got seeing the base up there, you got sudden Bob Balaban, sudden Francois Truffaut, and then you have what does take forever, but it's beautiful. You see some of the big ship. And you're like, oh, that's probably it. And then it turns upside down. You're like, holy fuck, that's a lot of ship. Mm-hmm. Then you've got the naval officers coming off. And then you've got the kid coming off. Then you've got his decision to go at the very end. And then you finally see the aliens. And you're like, ooh.
The only thing about that movie that isn't perfect to me is the Melinda Dillon and her kid thing. The aliens come and abduct her kid. Mm-hmm. And then, a week later, they're coming back with him? Yeah. After they've had these other people for 50 years?
He made everybody sick, maybe. He was a snotty little bastard.
It could be. Could be. You don't bring kids on to
Doesn't wash his hands.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where it's like all these people are coming back, and this guy's like, I was in this regiment in World War II, and all this other type of stuff. Meanwhile, this asshole kid gets a week long away,
like, hey,
and he's back.
That's the best daycare you ever took me to.
Yeah, exactly.
My least favorite part of this movie is that Richard Dreyfuss abandons his entire family. Yes, he's being called for a higher purpose, but man, he's like, see you, Terry Garr and my beautiful kids.
That is a weird thing, right? Like I don't know what you would do if you were in that kind of. It does have the traits of being a sort of a he needs help, right? But if you're not, I don't know how would you go to a doctor and solve that, because he's going to always feel that way.
How would he not go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if he goes back home, he's like, all right, guys, good to meet you. You gotta head back to the fan.
And he certainly doesn't leave them on his own like he wants that to happen. She leaves him.
Yeah,
This is true.
There's a point where, you know, she's throwing stuff out the windows and stuff like that, and it's like, I don't know exactly what is supposed. I feel like what happened in the movie is exactly how it would happen.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yep.
Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Close Encounters. I'm going to keep with the hits here. Imagine if you didn't see the end of Pulp Fiction. If you think about it, as quirky as it is with the timeline, by the time they dispose of Marvin's body at Monster Joe's, everything is resolved, right? The only thing that's not resolved is why Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer were at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Otherwise, though, Butch and Marcellus are good. Vincent Vega's dead. Jules is walking the earth after he's done with this. They delivered well, in the timeline or in the movie, they delivered the thing to him, the case. Vince has been out with Mia Wallace. Everything is pretty much done, except for that. And this is why it's so brilliant. Just that little tease at the beginning. You could actually forget about it, right? It was just a quirky thing at the beginning of the movie, like a Tarantino type of thing. But he does come back to it, and he comes back to it so brilliantly. I mean, if you skip the diner scene, you skip so much context of what happens later on in that thing. Chris and I were talking the other day about, think about Vincent Vega's day that day. He wakes up super early, has the conversation on the way, the McDonald's and the Le Big Mac.
Yeah. You dig it the most.
And the foot massage conversation. Then he kills Brad, not Brett, and the other guy. Then they kill Alexis Arquette. Then on the way back, he shoots Marvin in the face. He goes through the whole Bonnie situation. Then he goes into the diner, has to go into this Mexican standoff and all that stuff. Then he delivers the fucking case to Marcellus. Then he goes, buys some heroin, shoots up, goes to Mia's place, fucking does all the Jackrabbit Slim stuff.
Yeah, it's quite a day.
Then he's got the ODing bitch on his hands.
Yeah,
He takes her to Eric Stoltz's house, and then that's the end of his day. Like, he got going at like 6:30 a.m., and that's the end of his fucking day.
And then arguably a couple days later, he's shot dead on the toilet.
I always wondered how long it was between the two, because, you know, you have that awkward interaction with him and Mia.
Yeah, the only way you know, the only clue the movie gives is when Ving Rhames tells Bruce Willis on the night of the 5th, I think is what he says.
Well, he says it's the night of the fight.
Night of the fight. So then we don't know when the night of the fight is then.
Yeah.
Even if he said night of the 5th, which he doesn't, but even if he said that, we don't know what day it is before that. So.
Exactly. It could be a month, honestly. But yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, if you don't have that diner scene, you don't get that gap of what happens with the wolf, in between the wolf and then him delivering that thing.
I just want to go on record as saying I would much rather have gotten the once-rumored Vega Brothers movie than Hateful Eight or Django.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That
you can't do it anymore. They're way too fucking old. But
Yes,
when he
they
had
are.
the idea in the mid-'90s, Michael Madsen and Travolta could have pulled off younger versions of themselves, and that would have fucking ruled.
he could have done a From Dusk Till Dawn type of thing.
Road trip. Those two on a road trip.
Well, it almost seems like the Gecko brothers in From Dusk Till Dawn were kind of like the Vega brothers.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Criminals on the run, killing rangers.
Except one of them was a nerdy loser, and they weren't both badass, hulking giants.
He was also awful, too. But yes, the diner scene, man. You get the resolution of Honey Bunny and Sugar Plum.
Sugar Plum.
Honey Bunny, Pumpkin, and Honey Bunny. You get Jules delivering that fantastic fucking speech. Just the greatest moment of that movie, arguably. You get that whole resolution of, you know, what he's going to do. He almost convinces Vincent at that point about the miracle before he has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And everything about that is so perfect. You get them putting their guns in their little shorts.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say that you could end the movie before that, but I think you would lose a ton of context, character, and beautifulness at the end of that movie.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's 2/3 of the way through it, but it's definitely a large chunk at the end.
I respect the answer to the question.
That last section is longer than you probably think.
Yeah.
It's about 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But isn't Jules kind of like an NFL player these days, where they've been hit so many times, and you get some of these people who are like getting around 28, 29. They're like, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah.
And that's where he's gotten, because
he's in his prime, right?
Because he's been doing this stuff for a long time, and this time he was lucky. He knows that there's only one way this ends.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna end up getting shot by somebody, and the whole morning has been telling him this.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes a lot of people have that hard time getting out of their lives because, this is something that I know, and this is something that is comfortable to me. And I've been doing it for years, so why not do it for another 20? You don't have that long in this business.
No, I mean, you can argue he's maybe Marcellus's second in command, right? Well, behind the bartender guy.
Yeah, Flashy McJoe.
Yeah.
What is his name?
He says at one point, my name's Paul, and this is between y'all, but he's not Paul.
No.
His character, his actor's name, he's Paul Calderon.
Paul Calderon. That's why.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the character name was.
But he's around Marcellus like all the time, like even when they're looking for Butch and all that stuff, that kind of thing. But Jules is up there in the organization, and this is arguably one of the biggest LA crime organizations. But you're right. There's only one way out. And for him to be able to tell, first of all, he speaks to Marcellus the way nobody speaks to Marcellus like that. When he's talking about before the wolf comes, like, you ain't got no problem, Jules.
Yeah.
I'm sending the cavalry, which should be coming directly.
And even then, he's like, shit, that's all you had to say?
Yeah.
He's still kind of lippy with him.
I know, and God bless him. And but even for him to entertain the notion of saying I can get out shows that he's up in this this organization.
By the way, I think it was Paul Calderon who got hurt on the last castle, or he got sick or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And that's how Jeremy got so many lines, extra lines.
Interesting.
Isn't that what you told me back in the day?
Probably.
Was that because his character, because he got hurt or something on set, they started distributing some lines to him, and I guess maybe to some others too around the set. But that's how Cutbush got so many.
My favorite moment in that entire movie is him remembering the words to the Halls of Montezuma and starting to sing along with everybody else.
Yeah.
Because he's like, Halls of Montezuma.
Yeah.
That's my favorite moment in the whole movie.
My last one is Tin Cup.
Oh,
yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I
Aces.
like this.
You've seen a million sports movies. You know that the sports movie is geared towards that plucky underdog who finally wins at the end, beats the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And even in this year, you have Happy Gilmore, where you have Happy Gilmore has to beat an evil golfer who's nice on the outside, but you catch him off guard, he's an evil guy. Same thing in Tin Cup. Throughout this whole thing, you're like, okay, here's this guy who's just a golf pro. He helps out people with their swing and stupid shit like that. But then he qualifies, and I don't know what is it. Is it the U.S. Open in Tin Cup? He qualifies for the U.S. Open, and there is, on the final 18 hole, there is this shot that he wants to make. He wants to hit it in one shot, get it on the green, and because everybody else is laying up, and he hates that shit. He hates that everybody lays up so that they can hit a nicer shot. And he hits it on the green the first time, and it falls into the water. And he wants to, right then and there.
Yep.
He wants to start shooting this ball until he gets it right, but Cheech Marin's like, "No, man, come on, take your lie and let's go."
He can still win at this point, right?
This is the first round.
The first round. On the Thursday.
Yeah.
And then he always keeps going for it. He hits it right into the water, I think, the next two times.
Yeah.
And then on the final one, he is in contention to beat Don Johnson at the end. And he hits a perfect shot. He even says he's like, we're home. And it's like, nah. And you're like, okay, yeah. I mean, so yeah, in most of the time, 2/3 of the way through the movie, you're going to like, okay, he's just going to win the U.S. Open, right? This motherfucker gets up. He's in contention. He's up by what, 2?
1 or 2 at this point.
And it's a par 5. So
it's
he's
a par
got,
5.
if he drops, I'm just sorry.
Yeah. And he decides to go for it again. It hits the green. It looks like a perfect shot, but it rolls into the water.
Yeah.
And Cheech is like, all right, we're just going to take your line. And he goes, ball. He gets the ball and hits it. And he has varying degrees of length where it just goes into the water or it rolls back down or whatever. And watching Cheech Marin in this, man, he's so good in this movie.
He is.
He's just like, all right, I'm just resigned to this point or whatever. And then finally, it's like, I love all the stuff too. The announcers are like, somebody tackle this guy. and he's like, and then finally Cheech is like, he's like, you've only got one more ball, Roy. He's like, I know I can make that shot. And he's like, well, do it. Stop fucking around. and so everybody at this point is like, man, what a fucking embarrassing meltdown this shit is. But then he hits it on the last ball. And he gets it on the green. He actually gets it in the hole.
Yeah, rolls in the cup.
Yeah, and that's become the most exciting thing. Rene Russo sums it up at the end. Nobody's going to remember who won this thing at the end. They're going to remember your 12, Roy. They're going to remember your 12.
My God, it's immortal.
yeah. And I love too. Just he at the end after he gets the ball into the hole. He goes over to pick it up and then throws it into the water.
Yeah.
and does that little whatever motion he does with his hand.
Fuck that ball.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you watch Tin Cup, you'd be like, fucking know where this is going. Cut it off. And then you'd miss one of the best endings in the sports movie.
Agreed.
Did Ron Shelton do all the sports Costner movies?
Well, I mean, there's
2 of them.
Yeah, there's 2 movies.
Bull Durham in that one, and then
Field of Dreams.
No, Phil Alden Robinson.
That was Phil Alden Robinson.
Oh, okay.
And then For Love of the Game was
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
Okay.
I think there's even 2 more. Draft Day, which was nobody we've named, and then McFarlane USA is a cross country movie.
And then Molly's Game.
I like all Kevin Costner sports movies. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
He did White Men Can't Jump. That's funny. Or he was the writer
Ron
on
Shelton
that.
did. Yeah,
Ron Shelton did.
He likes sports. And he doesn't care who knows.
Ivan Reitman did Draft Day.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Draft Day's good.
He
I
did
like
Cobb. Ron Shelton did Cobb.
So he's a baseball.
Play It to the Bone, which is
boxing.
Boxing, right?
No, he did a lot of sports movies, but he did 2 with Kevin Costner.
And he also did Hollywood Homicide.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for my last one, I'm here for 2 Towers.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
this is essentially, you would be missing the Battle of Helm's Deep.
Don't
which
miss
would
that.
make this quite possibly the most boring movie you've ever seen. Because 2 Towers' first 2/3 is a lot of
walking.
Where's everybody at? Let's go over there and ask if they know where everybody's at. Hey, we found another person, but we lost one on the way. Hey, well, there's another person over there. Where's everybody at? And then finally, after 2 hours of that, we know where everybody's at. And they have a massive battle. And it makes that the best movie in the whole trilogy for me. But if you took that battle out, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All you would have is him saying, Gandalf saying, look for me by morning, and you'd never see him again. Just fucked you over. And you wouldn't have that glorious sun coming up over the hill and blinding you as Gandalf and the Rohirrim come down. I'm pretending to ride a horse, by the way. That's why they're laughing. So yeah, in terms of just completely, changing your understanding of the movie and its scope and its contents, that's the biggest one, I thought. If you watch right up to Helm's Deep and stop, I pity you.
God, you miss all the great stuff at the end too. The Ents finally deciding to attack.
Oh yeah,
finally.
Yeah,
only took a couple millennia.
And that I've always loved that part where you see that one tree that's on fire that goes over and dumps his head into the water. But there's that thing with Sam at the end. His speech at the end is fucking great. It's the reason why The Two Towers has been my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, which I don't think a lot. I don't know if that's the popular choice.
I honestly don't know. I think Fellowship gets most of the love.
Oh, really?
I think, well, everybody agrees Return of the King goes on for too long.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably between Two Towers and Fellowship.
Yeah.
But I would guess more people like Fellowship. But yeah, you're right, especially because it's at the end of Two Towers that we get that whole Gollum Smeagol talk, too, that leads into the credits. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That movie rules.
Yeah,
That movie does rule. How long did Gandalf fight the Balrog? Because he had to fight him all the way down. Right? Yeah, weeks.
I'm pretty sure. I read the books. I'm pretty sure it's weeks.
He had to fight him all the way down to the bottom of the pit. Then they had to fight all the way
up to the top of the mountain.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, no wonder he's white.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Pregnant pause.
I actually read, fascinatingly the other day, that your white gray hairs, for some people, it depends on your genetic makeup, can regain their color. They did a study with a bunch of people who were starting to go gray, and they all did stress diaries. And the less stressed people had some of their gray hairs go back to being their normal color.
Ooh, I'm a fan of that.
There's a direct, even though we're old and the body gets old and does stuff, there's a direct correlation between stress and gray hair, not just a colloquial one.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to
all right, hit me.
de-stress. My last one is Parasite.
Ooh, God.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes, there's a whole new movie.
There really is, but I mean, you could potentially in the movie when they're sleeping in like the massive like shelter, right? When they've gone through the flood, the rich family is basically perfectly fine right now. The poor family is back to being poor. They've gone through the adventure. I think at this point, have they killed the people downstairs yet? Or the woman downstairs yet? I think so. By the time they flee... No, it's not, because... I know, I'm relitigating
The flood
this whole
happens
thing.
earlier in the movie, I think.
Flood does, because they have to leave... No. Let me think about this for a second, because it starts raining when they're crashing, and then the woman shows up,
Yes.
and then she shows inadvertently they show him the basement and everything.
Well, I mean, she has to at this point show him the basement, and then there's the misunderstandings.
Yeah, and
that
then
lead to
he shoves her down the stairs, and that's where she gets the thing.
The deputy in No Country for Old Men summarizing the scene. He's like getting ready to make the exchange. Whoa, differences.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, you could cut it there, and like everybody's kind of back to their stations. But then if you don't get the birthday party, and you don't get all of those crazy twists and turns.
Stabby Joe.
She dies. Then you got basement guy coming up, smacking homeboy on the head. At this point, nobody has found out, right? Like, rich family doesn't know anything about poor family. Rich family still doesn't know about basement guy. Everybody's just kind of going along their business. But yeah, smacks a kid over the head, comes out, Stabby Joe. And then and then the father, then you get the twist at the very end where the father is unaccounted for, and you get all that thing, and then you have the dream sequence with the son. God, what a movie.
Can you imagine how bewildering that is to everybody else in the movie that like who watches what happens? Like there's some random crazy guy that shows up. Yeah. And then the guy that was employed by this family shoots there's so much like you just, if you're that family, you're just like, you're obviously you're mourning, but you're also going, what the fuck was that?
Yes, what the fuck was that? I do love that the movie pulls a bait and switch on, the boy gets hit first, and you're like, there's no way he survived that. And then you're like, oh, well, he's got a knife. Somebody's going to tackle him and that kind of thing. But no, Stabby Joe gets his thing, gets a stab on. God, that movie's so amazing. But if you imagine missing that ending,
God,
you would be like, first of all, you'd be like, what the fuck was that? But I think also, if you walked out right as they're in that shelter and all that stuff, you would think, okay, that's resolved, right? Everybody's back in their own place. None of this really meant
you certainly
anything.
wouldn't expect anything that happens after that to happen.
Yeah. But again, you would be deprived of probably the best part of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that movie's perfection.
Yeah, it is.
Have you watched it anymore since you had that run of like 3 or 4 times in a row?
I don't think so. No, I'm due though.
Yeah,
it's been more than a year, and I'm due for another watch. I wish it would show up on one of these movie channels. Some movies just never seem to show up on the movie channels. It's bewildering to me.
Yeah. It could be a number of things. The whatever studio ran it, or
probably because it's a Korean film. I wouldn't be surprised. I know the way he did Snowpiercer was that he used non-Hollywood money, but hired all Hollywood crews so that he could call all the shots without having to answer to typical Hollywood money men. I wouldn't be surprised if he still does that, and some Korean company has the rights to streaming, and so you can't see it on HBO. Or
I tell you what, man, I tried to watch your Okja movie.
Okja!
Can't get into it.
No!
Can't get into it. I don't know why.
That's the saddest thing I ever heard.
All right, we may have some recommends and warns.
Recca.
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Recommend.
Yeah.
I saw a movie I will recommend. It's called A Most Wanted Man.
Hoffman?
Philip Seymour Hoffman playing a German spy.
It's his last role, right?
Oh.
Or last... I think Hunger Games last one was his last one, but I think this was his second to last.
I don't know. This is one of those
remember.
that I did not recognize the name. I saw he was in it, and Rachel McAdams is in it, and Sean Penn's ex-wife.
Robin Wright.
Robin Wright is in it. And
Madonna?
Yeah.
now this is not a full-throated A+ recommend. This is a solid B+ spy thriller. Reminded me very much of some of the better episodes of Homeland. If you've ever seen Homeland. Basically,
This is a book based on a book, John le Carre.
I didn't know who that is.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Okay.
The Russia House.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That was one of Michelle Pfeiffer's finest movies. So Philip Seymour Hoffman is basically playing this. It's kind of like The Wire in that he's playing this game of catch a small fish, turn them, use them to catch a bigger fish, turn them, use them to catch a bigger fish, turn them, and now we're catching a multi-million-dollar terror financer. And Rachel McAdams is one of the little fish. And she's hiding. She's an immigration lawyer, so she gets tangled up with somebody that may or may not have ties to a terrorist organization. It turns out his dad did. So she's hiding this guy who she believes to be innocent, and Philip Seymour Hoffman and his goons grab her. And first they interrogate, then they start playing with her mind, making her not trust this guy. And then ultimately they make her realize we're your only hope. And so she agrees to cooperate. And so she starts working with him, and then they get this other fish, the guy that's staying with her, because he's got a bunch of his dad's dirty terrorist money, and he doesn't know what to do with it, but it's hurting his soul, and he needs to unload it. So they convince it, you need to unload it on this guy. He's totally a good guy. He'll take all your money. They know this guy's a terrorist. So now they've got this guy they're trying to hook in, and it just keeps going, and right at the very end, they're about to get their main target they've been going after the whole movie, and some unexpected shit happens.
Don't walk out 2/3 of the way into this.
I was pretty riveted. There was no scene that made me go, hot damn, this is the scene I'm going to tell him about. It's a pretty subdued performance for Philip Seymour Hoffman. You could subtitle this movie, Dude Loves to Smoke, because he is smoking a new cigarette every time the camera cuts to him. As a former smoker, it's one of the first times I've noticed smoking so prevalent in a movie since I quit. Rachel McAdams is great, as always. and Sean Penn's wife is great as always. But it's just a solid. If you liked 24 or Alias, if you liked Homeland,
I do like.
I think you would enjoy this movie as I did. So there you go. It's called A Most Wanted Man.
I think I have this on Blu-ray somewhere.
That would make perfect sense.
Yep.
You probably have Existo on Blu-ray.
I don't have Existo, unfortunately.
What is Existo?
A deep cut Nashville movie that I thought Chris would know and you wouldn't. So what year was that? 97, 98?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Basically, anybody who's anybody in the Nashville acting scene, Josh and Jeremy Childs, David Alford, made this movie. I forget who the guy that directed it was, called Existo. And they had a premiere in Green Hills at the film festival. And I went because my buddies were in it. And the only thing I remember is a guy on a bouncy ball singing the fucking A song. And he's like got clown makeup, and he's like, "Fucking A, fucking A, fucking A."
Is it a Harmony Korine?
No, it's a Coke Sam's and Jim Varney.
Jim Varney.
But it's the who's who of Nashville actors that are in this. That in this movie. And
I don't remember it being very good.
Trying to remember if I saw it. I don't even know if I saw it. I may have. I think I did. I just don't remember anything.
Well, it was weird as fuck. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Well, A Most Wanted Man was Philip Seymour Hoffman's last completed movie.
Okay, so he
was
started
in the middle of filming.
Yeah, and they started doing the
Mockingjay.
digital insertion stuff.
Mm-hmm. But it was on Mubi, actually, Most Wanted Man, and I actually really wanted to watch it. But so this is a recommend, not top of the pops. Or
yeah, there's nothing in it I would warn, so it's not a record warn, but it's not the kind of recommend where I'm like, A+, everyone's going to love it. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
I finally got around to seeing The Father.
Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, this is the Dementia movie, right?
Dementia movie. And, it's now famous for being the movie that I think ruined the Oscars telecast plans because they thought Chadwick Boseman was going to win.
Yeah.
And then we had that very abrupt winner's Anthony Hopkins. All right, credits.
All right. That's exactly how it was. Mm-hmm. We were actually watching it live, you and me were. And you had turned it off by this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were like,
yeah, it was hard.
Because that was, they did Best Picture before they did Best Actor and Actress, right?
They obviously thought that Chadwick Boseman was going to win, and they were going to have a nice ending to the show.
That's awesome.
And then it ended up
it's not awesome,
but yeah, it ended up being Anthony Hopkins. And anyway, yes, this is a movie where he plays a man with dementia, and I don't know. There's probably other movies that do this, but I don't know if I've seen a drama before where the person who has dementia, we're seeing it from their perspective.
That's awesome. That's a very interesting twist.
Yeah. Like other movies, like, I know this is a really fucking weird movie to come up with, like Dear John, where Channing Tatum is dealing with his dad. Richard Jenkins has dementia in that movie, or Alzheimer's. I can't remember. It always seems to be something that affects the main character in some way. That's part of their characters, that they take care of that person and everything. This one is more about, because like the very first scene of this is, Olivia Colman, who's playing his daughter, comes in and says, I'm going to have to leave you here in London. I'm sorry. I've met somebody. We're going to be living in Paris, and it's very important to me. So you're going to have to be left here. Now he's in his apartment, and she's been hired. She's tried to hire these caretakers to come in, and every one of them that comes in, it seems like he says something wrong to them or does something that he's very difficult in this movie. Anthony Hopkins is. In addition to the dementia, he's kind of a dick. So a lot of the times they'll come in, and there's a point where Imogene Poots comes in and plays one of the caretakers, and he's like, she reminds me of Olivia Colman's sister. And he's always bringing her up, and we kind of know through the context that something happened to the sister. We don't know, but he's he thinks that she's still alive. She never gets around her. She never gets in contact with me. I don't know what happened. Blah, blah, blah. But she reminds me of her. And then, like, there's a point where Imogen Poots is just kind of laughing, like, he's like, exactly. She used to laugh in that terrible manner, and like in that inane way that she used to do. And Imogen Poots, you can see her go, and then there's another scene that where Olivia Williams comes in, and she's the daughter, and
she's actually a representation of.
We don't know who's who in this. Olivia Williams is playing Anne, just like Olivia Colman did in the previous scene. It's a brilliant kind of piece of casting, by the way. 2 Olivias, and one of them kind of looks like the other in some ways. And she comes in, and then there's these scenes that play out that repeat, but with different people in them. There's a point where Rufus Sewell is Olivia Colman's husband. She keeps saying, I'm not married anymore, I got divorced, but he keeps saying this husband or whatever. There's the guy who played Sherlock Holmes' brother in the movies that shows up in this too. Wait a minute, not in the movies, maybe in the series. Can't remember that dude's name.
Mycroft? The character,
Mycroft. I think it's in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock that he plays.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name right now, but he plays the husband sometimes. And then he'll say something will happen, and he'll refer to it, and then Olivia Colman goes, "What are you talking about? There's nobody here," or there's it's the guy who brought in the chicken. We don't have any chicken here. And this is after we just saw the same things that he saw. So this movie is very heartbreaking throughout. I recommend it because it is a great movie. Just don't go in expecting by the end of it a lot of things are going to be rosy by the end of it. But it has just a tremendously touching ending. I highly recommend it. At first, didn't know what to think of this because we can only imagine what it's like to have dementia, right? Mm-hmm. It's frustrating to watch. Just imagine how frustrating it is to experience. And I was like sitting there going, God damn it. There's a point where Olivia Colman says, I'm going to Paris. And then for the rest of the movie, she's like, oh, Dad, I'm not going to Paris. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, wow.
And then later on, she says, I'm going to Paris. And then he's resigned to the fact that she is going to Paris. I mean, that she hasn't gone to Paris. Someone comes in and says, yeah, your daughter's been gone for a few months to Paris. And he goes, no. She said that she wasn't going.
Oh my God.
Just think about that. How many walls of I don't know what you would call it to get to that point where you're not only remembering her saying something she didn't say, but then you've resolved to something that I guess she never rescinded. I don't know how there's an insane amount of there's an insane amount of things that you have to go through to get to that point. And it's sad. You watching Anthony Hopkins, this guy is, there's a reason why he won the Oscar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
This is an episode of ER, sorry. Mm-hmm. That the gal from Sex and the City, Cynthia Nixon is a guest star, and she has a stroke. Mm-hmm. You remember this? Mm-hmm. In the beginning of the ER episode, and the whole rest of the episode, you're seeing her treatment from her perspective, and you're hearing what she's saying, but she can't say it, and they can't hear her saying it because she's had a stroke, and it scared the bejesus out of me when I saw this episode, because I had never understood a stroke in that manner. To think about that you're able to process what's going on, but not able to communicate anything to anyone. This reminds me of that, a way of putting you in the shoes of that person through filming technique or writing technique. I'm gonna have to watch this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think you would love this movie, actually. in that same vein, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. I don't know if you've ever seen
I
that.
haven't seen that.
That's a
Baumbach,
great
right?
fucking... No, it's not. It's...
Oh, I'm thinking about the Squid
Squid the Whale, yeah. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is about a guy who has had a stroke.
Yeah.
And he can only move his eyes.
Yeah.
So they have to invent a way for him to communicate in this, and just there are times where they come in and this language that they come up with is so slow that it's impossible for him to express certain things in certain situations and everything. And that movie is great too. Just talk about a depressing double feature, but they're both great. Diving Bell and the Butterfly and The Father. But
interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that was so unsettling in my previous career was they had this new technology in 2010, something like that. It was a VR headset for schizophrenia. And so schizophrenia was originally named dementia precox because it's a cognitive disorder. But when you put this VR thing on, it gives you all the stuff, the audio stuff. There's a olfactory thing. There's smells that come out from nowhere. And then, of course, the VR where you're looking over. Something will be there very clearly, and then you look over, and then that thing is gone. It wasn't like, hallucinations of ghouls or goblins or anything like that. It was just practical stuff that people with schizophrenia have. You hear the murmuring in the background. It's not like somebody whispering straight in your ear. It's not like A Beautiful Mind where there's fully formed Ed Harrises and shit, where it's like, oh, well, all that stuff going on. And they had all of us go through it. It was scary. It was very, very scary.
Sounds scary.
But they just passed an FDA approval of an Alzheimer's drug that targets plaques.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
To tie this up, Mark Gatiss is who you were thinking about that played Mycroft on Sherlock.
Yes.
He looks exactly like Jared Harris, so I thought he was.
Well,
Jared
yeah.
Harris.
In fact, when he first showed up, I was like, "Oh, Jared Harris," and I was like, "No, not him." But yeah, Mark Gatiss is who I was thinking of. He's been in a million stuff. He's great.
I'm going to keep it really, really current and go with the 2002 movie called The Sweetest Thing.
Ooh.
This got a little bit of love on Twitter a few weeks ago, where people were saying, somebody, an influencer said, boy, they don't make raunchy female-based comedies like The Sweetest Thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
First off, respect to whoever said that. Maybe they don't exactly like The Sweetest Thing, but they have made a lot of raunchy female-led comedies. Rough Night, Bridesmaids, Girls Trip, Ghostbusters.
Bachelorette.
Ghostbusters was so raunchy. Such a raunchy movie.
But I mean, yeah, they have. But not exactly like The Sweetest Thing. And I'm glad they don't, because this movie's terrible. I remembered liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Very 2002. This is Christina Applegate and Cameron Diaz being forward-thinking ladies. They live in San Francisco, and they fuck dudes, and they don't call them back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. And so they take Selma Blair is their other friend, and they take her out because she just broke up with her boyfriend. And they're like, fuck, baby, you're fine. You got to play the game. Play the game. You don't need to be beholden to one peen.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get out there
right.
and have more peens.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Peens
Multiple
everywhere.
peens.
Multiple peen.
And so they take her out dancing. And all of a sudden, this one night, all of a sudden, Cameron Diaz runs into Thomas Jane, blonde Thomas Jane,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets a connection with him. It's only been one night. They only have a conversation for like maybe 3 minutes, but the next day she finds out that she's in love. He's in town just for one night because somebody's getting married the next day, and his brother, Jason Bateman. This is Jason Bateman in his dodgeball and kind of like asshole phase, like kind of weird alt Jason Bateman phase, right before Arrested Development, I think. When did Arrested Development start?
I think 2004. I think you're right.
Yeah, and he's hilarious in this, by the way. But he's acting like a drunk asshole, so you assume he's the one getting married. Thomas Jane's a good guy. And so she finds out that the wedding is going to be a little north of the city. So she and Christina Aguilera.
That's right, Christina Aguilera. You were right. You were right the first time.
Christina Applegate go on a road trip to go to this thing. Sexy hijinks ensue where they have to strip down to their panties.
Their panties.
Their panties and their bras. And they joke about how it's laundry day, so they don't have the best panties on. There's a glory hole involved. And the humor is just all over the place, man. I don't get this movie, and it's not because I'm a woman. I don't think. I do appreciate the fact that they're great friends, and there's no conflict that really happens between the two main characters, or even for Selma Blair. For that, she fucks an elephant, by the way, in this movie.
That's what you do.
A dude in an elephant costume.
Oh,
she
I
takes
him
upstairs.
Like a real elephant.
She takes him upstairs and starts fucking him while he's got the elephant headgear on.
Does she know who's in there?
Yeah, she knows.
Well,
It's
good.
the guy from the previous night.
I would hope so.
There's a whole bit about cum stain.
A whole bit about it, huh?
A little bit.
It made me think. There really is, because Selma Blair borrowed Christina Applegate's dress, and she gave the blowy, and the sperm went down the dress.
I gotcha.
And so she's got to take it to get cleaned, and blah, blah, blah. But it made me think, Cameron Diaz has a history with
She does.
jism.
She does.
Between There's Something About Mary, she swallowed it in Vanilla Sky.
She did.
Now you got a sperm dress in The Sweetest
Indeed.
Thing. There's probably some other jism-based Cameron Diaz performances.
Yeah, like Shrek.
I think my favorite thing about The Sweetest Thing is that it's based on a U2 song.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They made a whole movie out of that.
I guarantee
A
you that song's
raunchy-
in the soundtrack of that movie.
It's not.
Fuck you.
It's not.
Well, I said fuck you. I didn't disagree.
It is funny that the guy who directed this, Roger Cumble, did the directed Cruel Intentions and Cruel Intentions 2.
Yeah, he did.
And then he did this.
Yeah, he did.
He did another Cruel Intentions later on, a TV movie, Cruel Intentions.
Did he really?
Yeah, which has Sarah Michelle Gellar in it.
This guy
What?
likes one.
She came back for the TV movie?
Yeah, she did.
Wow.
I didn't even know this existed. It was
didn't
like in
either.
2016.
She's playing she's like the older. She's probably like narrating the younger kid's story or something.
It says 15 years after the death of her brother, villainous Catherine Martulli seeks to manipulate her nephew Bash and gain control of the family. Yeah. And gain control of the family business Valmont International.
Bash Valmont.
It's got a 7.5, although 336 votes. So everybody who loved Cruel Intentions ever watched that movie, and then they went to vote on IMDb.
Did you ever see Cruel Intentions 2?
No.
I wonder if Selma Blair was in that.
I haven't, but I have seen American Psycho 2 twice.
Yeah, you have.
You know who was in Cruel Intentions too?
Ryan Phillippe.
Amy Adams.
Wow.
I knew that somehow. I saw that when I was pulling up her IMDb. That's crazy. I kind of want to watch that.
I kind of want to watch this now too.
Do you have it on Blu-ray?
I don't. If I did, I would immediately give it to you.
Anyway, this is a warn. I wanted to like it because I like off-kilter, raunchy comedies like this, and 2002 Cameron Diaz isn't too hard on the eyes.
We should talk about The Punisher just to get all the Thomas Jane shit out of the way in one episode.
Indeed.
Tommy J out there, but yeah, don't watch this movie. Even if, I don't
Just
care.
don't.
I don't give a
Just
shit.
don't.
I don't give a shit what
Yeah,
you do.
exactly.
It's your life. It's your funeral.
We're going to do one more?
Yeah, man.
One more recommend or warn?
Sure, but I can't talk very much on this because I stopped watching about 2/3 of the way through.
We can move to questions.
We
if
can
you
do
want
questions.
to.
Let's do questions.
I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
We've got a juicy one. We've got a few juicy ones. Which one do I want?
That's a juicy meatball. Wait, that's a spicy.
That's a spicy meatball.
Shoots a Juicy juice.
Juicy juice.
That's a spicy
I
juice.
swallowed your cum.
You've been inside me.
You know what? I like this one. I'm going to start off with this one. Do you guys think there might be a curse to get a great and memorable villain role early in your career?
Villain. I missed that part.
That's all right. Two guys that comes to this person's mind are Robert Patrick and Ted Levine. Both got a great start in 1991 with Terminator 2 and Silence of the Lambs, respectively. Easily their best work. Both of them have had pretty prolific careers as character actors afterwards, but never really got back to that level again with those amazing performances. What do you guys think?
This is close to a typecasting question.
Yeah.
Because in both of those instances, Robert Patrick and Ted Levine played villains that were so unique and acted in such a certain way that when you saw them again, that's exactly what you thought of any character that they played. So I don't think there's a curse, because there are several who have played in the past villains who, I mean, here's one: Edward Norton in Primal Fear. Mm-hmm. I think it's either his first movie ever or it's close to it. It's the first time we ever really heard of Edward Norton. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a tremendous role that put him on the map. He was in everything after Primal Fear. Mm-hmm. And we didn't sit there and think of his character from Primal Fear every time we watched a movie after that. And there was no, there was no typecasting or whatever you want to call it that made us, not believe him in these other roles. But by the same token, somebody like Sharon Stone plays a villain in Basic Instinct and is cast completely in sexy thrillers after that for 2 or 3 years before finally saying, fuck this, I'm going to produce my own movie with Sam Raimi and do Quick and the Dead, and I'm going to work with Scorsese and do Casino
with Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
Isn't he in that movie?
In which movie?
Casino.
I don't remember him in Casino.
Fuck! I'm sorry.
I wanted to say yeah, and I did say yeah. But
well,
no.
Go on with your bad self. I'm going on.
But in 1995, she clearly was like, I'm tired of this fucking bullshit.
The slivers and the fucking...
Well, and if you've seen any of the snippets from her memoir she just put out, you understand why. Like,
I want to read that.
Oh, dude, the snippets are incredible. Like the audition she had to do with whoever was eating the malted milk balls, that's an outrageous story. Mm-hmm. And then the famous crotch scene in Basic Instinct, they flat out told her, your underwear is glaring on the camera. We have to have you take it off so there won't be a glare, but no one's going to see anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they just lied to her. And she's got a story like that for every movie she was in. Wow. And she's not pulling any punches anymore.
I want to read that, too.
I definitely want to read that. I think she's an extremely interesting person. Mm-hmm. It's sad, though, because in 1995, even though she did The Quick and the Dead, I don't think people bought her as the character she played in The Quick and the Dead. Casino, she got an Oscar nomination.
Yep.
And she's great in that movie.
She is.
After that, I feel like she had a really hard time finding her footing. Mm-hmm. The best role she may have had after that was The Muse, the Albert Brooks movie, where she's playing his muse in the movie. That's probably as close as she got to being like, and then after that, back to Basic Instinct 2, which is a terrible movie.
She did Broken Flowers, but she's not.
She plays one of the many women that Bill Murray visits in that movie.
She did that one we all love,
Alpha Dog.
Yeah, she's fantastic in that.
Yeah, so she has some moments, but she never broke out the way I think she could have. I think that that's mainly because other people had a lower expectation of her than maybe she did of herself or whatever. But I think she could have been great in a number of roles after that, because she's, aside from all the the obvious stuff that you notice in Basic Instinct, she's great in Basic Instinct. Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, it's easy to look at her and go, oh well, look at this. She's a blonde, sexy, whatever. She can't play anything that's like heady or whatever. And I think people were wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to read that memoir.
She had some impossible sex in The Specialist, right?
She did.
Yeah.
It was like a standing up.
They're like right next to each other, but somehow he's getting up in there.
Yeah, or as Bill Burr says in one of his, like, I don't know how people stand up and have sex in the movies. Like, they got the U-shaped dick or something.
It must have been for Sly. He's shorter than her, though.
I think so.
I guess he could have had some
maybe
upward,
so.
upward momentum.
Yeah, some upward thrust.
Yeah.
I somehow confused striptease with Casino,
Oh, really?
and that's why I thought Robert Patrick was in Casino.
Well, that's understandable.
Well, then. Let's see how...
I honestly think he plays a similar character to, is it James Woods in Casino? That's like,
it could be
her husband. That's kind of a dipshit.
Oh, yeah, he's a total dipshit.
I think Robert Patrick is playing a similar character in Striptease.
Is he Demi Moore's husband?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a wire cross there. My apologies.
That's all right.
My apologies. Well, I missed the villain part of this question, so my answers are really stupid. I put Minnie Driver, who's not a villain, but burst onto the scene with that Irish movie,
Circle of Friends,
and then Good Will Hunting, and has continued acting steadily up until today. She's been on a bunch of TV shows, but I don't think she's ever had anything as high. Grosse Point Blank, as kind of like her last high-profile role. And then she's moved more into a character kind of a role. And she
was the diva in Phantom of the Opera.
Did not know that. And I thought Guy Pearce is kind of in a similar place because he comes out with Memento, and he's a leading man for about 2 or 3 years. I'm not counting Monte Cristo, Time Machine, which I watched a little bit of the other day.
Really?
The Space Jail movie?
That's different. That's like a B leading man. But then he ends up in more roles like Prometheus, where he's like one of LA Confidential early in his career.
Yep.
He's a leading man. But after that, those first 4 or 5 big movies, it's like character actor time for him. But I misread the question. So
no, if we were going that direction, you could say Gerard Butler, right? Because after 300, he's
still a leading man, but not the same kind of movies.
Not pretty. No. It's not pretty.
They're making another Greenland.
And what?
That Greenland movie he made.
Well,
did you ever watch that?
It's decent, but they're making another one.
All right.
Well, the Olympus Has Fallen has proven to be a pretty good
moneymaker
franchise. For I don't know. Tell you what, Aaron had some fucking opinions on that.
Oh, did he?
On that, what was it? Discord.
That's why.
He was on Discord.
He's on Discord, and he was like, "This is when you exactly call it a franchise." I'm like, "All right, man."
Hey,
I told at the very end of it, after he got done with all of his opinions, I was like, "This is like the hot dog as a sandwich thing."
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a semantic debate.
Yeah.
So you're right. I agree with Chris that there's no curse. There's just kind of a way things work out. Ted Levine actually had kind of a rebirth on Monk. If you ever watched that show, he played the captain on that, good guy, and you really couldn't tell it was him. Honestly, he had like a mustache and stuff like that. But in the spirit of the question, there are a couple that I think peaked at this point. Rutger Hauer was one that came to my mind in Blade Runner. He plays the evil replicant bastard.
Bash.
Bash.
Bash the replicant. And yes, Rutger Hauer has been in a lot of stuff, was in a lot of stuff. He's been in Danish stuff. I think he's been in some Verhoeven stuff. Wasn't he in that rapey weird shit that you watched?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rapey weird shit.
Yeah.
That's not a bad description of that movie.
Yeah. But no, Rutger Hauer had a great career. The Hitcher is fun, but I don't think he ever got to the level that he was in Blade Runner. I did rewatch that Tears in the Rain scene at the end, and when we sent Blade Runner, we didn't take a cent off for it or anything.
Which I told you to do, and you didn't.
You did do that, right? Yeah.
I did.
And you were right, of course. When you watch it, he's like, there's stuff that I've seen that no one in the history of everybody will ever see. And it's all futuristic gobbledygook and all that stuff. But yeah, it's going to be lost like Tears in the Rain. And man, that performance is kind of all over the place, where especially at the end where he's in his skivvies and like yelling and screaming and punching through walls. But that is really good, and I think that was in my mind peak Rutger Hauer.
You know, James Earl Jones never had the same career after Star Wars.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's true.
Everybody kept comparing all of his characters to Darth Vader, so he never got work.
Mm-hmm. I know.
When he shows up at the end of Sneakers, they're like, man, all I see is Darth Vader.
I ain't scared of that shit.
And the other one, boy, I was really thinking about the career of Lucy Liu the other day. I was trying to figure out when she burst on the scene, because when she did, she was, omnipresent, basically. Charlie's Angels was her first big movie. She had been in other things, stuff like that, but that was 2000, and she was part of this trio. Drew Barrymore was a superstar at this point. Cameron Diaz was at this point, and it almost seemed like Lucy Liu. But then I remembered that she was a real factor in Ally McBeal really gaining prominence, because when she came on to be kind of the foil to Callista Flockhart, that's really where the show really took off. But early in her career, I would say, Kill Bill, she's a great villain in that. O'Shea Wren, because she's so nice. There's that whole animated backstory about how she came to be so ruthless and everything. And she's so nice, and she's having that dinner with all the heads of the families and all that stuff, right? And one guy gets up and starts mocking her, and he calls her a slur, essentially, questioning her background because she is in Japan at this point. And she gets up, man, and of course it's a classic Tarantino foot shot. Yep. She gets up, walks across the table, slices motherfucker's head off, and she goes into this tirade that's awesome. She's like, "Is anybody else want to question my fucking authority around here?" And everybody's like, "Oh, oh my God." And she's like, "Anyone will look like this guy." And she holds up the head and shit like that. It's so good.
Yeah.
But look, I'm sure there are X versus Sever fans out there.
No, there's not.
There's none.
I know that there are Elementary fans out there, speaking of Sherlock.
Sure. Angelina Jolie is one.
Do what?
Nothing. That's Angelina. That's like a previous Angelina Jolie marriage joke, because one of her first husbands is Watson.
Johnny Lee Miller.
Interesting. I see how you got
so
there.
I said Angelina's a fan of the show.
Yeah.
My brain is misfiring today.
You got there. But I'm sure Elementary is fine, but I don't think Lucy Liu has ever gotten to where she was right around there after Charlie's Angels, and then as a villain in Kill Bill. It seems like she's kind of taken a turn. God bless her, she's still working. She's still doing great. She's still gorgeous. But Kill Bill, I think, is my favorite performance.
Yeah, I don't know if that role was so big, though, that it made it to where I just, I can't see her in anything else, or, had a hard time living up to that role later on. That's why I think a lot of this discussion revolves around how memorable was that villain and how unique was it. And that's why those two in the example had a hard time shaking, because Robert Patrick was doing, even after he did Terminator 2, he would show up as that character in other things, like Wayne's World 2
Last Action Hero.
and Last Action Hero.
Oh, shit, I forgot he was in
I looked
Last
him up a
Action
minute
Hero.
ago. He's got 163 credits.
Oh, yeah, man. He was the replacement Mulder on X-Files.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But, yeah, it just never really, really got going, you know what I mean, to that level.
Yeah, and then and for everyone that you say, well, this person couldn't get it on track, I'll give you like Alan Rickman, who was not really known here until Die Hard.
For sure, yeah.
And went on to have a great career where we didn't sit there and hope he would spout out Hans Gruber line. But, there's I don't think there's a curse. I just think it's a matter of how distinct that villain was.
Yeah.
And how big of a movie it was that makes that a curse. Because then it's the thing that they bring up in that Ben Affleck Superman movie, where he's playing George Reeves.
Hollywood.
Black Dahlia?
It's Hollywoodland.
Hollywoodland.
Oh.
God, that movie's boring.
Yeah, that's a boring as shit movie.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
But he does Superman, and everybody knows George Reeves is Superman, and then he tries to do something in like Touch of Evil or something. I don't know what movie it was, but he goes, there's a scene where Ben Affleck walks in and to one of his own movies, and he shows up on screen, and everybody's like, oh, look, up in the air, in the sky, yelling out in the theater and stuff. So, that it can be a curse for good guys too.
Yeah.
So
Don't be fooled, by the way. The Ben Affleck playing Superman is like a third of that movie. The rest of it is Adrian Brody investigating his death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, it's his death.
Jumping back and forth in time.
See.
That's part of why the movie's so boring. Mm-hmm. If it had been all Ben Affleck playing George Reeves, I think that would have been fascinating, but it's not. There's not near enough of that in the movie.
Yeah.
It was directed by somebody really good, wasn't it?
It was a Sopranos director, I remember.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if it was the creator. I don't. While we've been sitting here, the trailer has dropped for that Many Saints of Newark, the prequel movie to The Sopranos, starring Gandolfini's son, which he's been working on for apparently 6 years.
Is that a movie?
It's a movie.
Okay.
And the trailer came out today, and I'm going to drive home very fast and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say no to that because Simon is not Simon. David Chase.
David Chase. That's right.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Simon is The Wire, right?
Yes. And quite a prickly pear on Twitter.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Alan Coulter did Hollywoodland. He was also a big Sopranos director.
Okay.
But let's see. David Chase was The Sopranos. Also, the rapey movie that you were trying to think of is Flesh and Bone? No.
Yeah.
Flesh and Bone.
Is that what it's called? I had it.
And there's lots of flesh and some bone.
Yes. It's not to be confused with the Meg Ryan. No, it's Flesh and Blood.
Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, Flesh and
there's
Blood.
also blood.
Flesh and Bone is the Meg Ryan alcoholic movie, I believe.
Not to be confused with In the Cut, which is the Meg Ryan boxing movie.
That's right. It's the boxing. It's the boxing movie. Totally makes sense.
Oh, somebody's going to feel like, I want to watch the Meg Ryan boxing movie, and they're going to put that shit in. And Jesus Christ. People aren't ready.
Actually, I don't... Flesh and Bone is not about that, apparently. But Steve Kloves wrote and directed Flesh and Bone.
Oh, wow.
Decades later, a son of a killer falls in love with a girl whose family's horrifying murder he saw in childhood.
And then he did some bone.
I think Flesh and Bone was one of the first Gwyneth Paltrow movies, maybe? Yeah.
He did some bone on her flesh.
That's right. So you guys out there listening are totally confused about what's going on.
Yeah, seriously. The last few minutes have been...
What the fuck are they talking about?
I do need to go over the movies that we recommended and warned and everything. Jeremy recommended A Most Wanted Man, the Philip Seymour Hoffman movie. He says, if you like Alias and you like, what else would
Homeland.
Oh. Those type of shows. A Most Wanted Man is for you. I recommended The Father, the movie that came out last year. Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar for it. It's very, very good. Very, very good. And Barrett, you warned.
Oh yeah.
The sweetest thing. It says warn amend in the.
No, it's straight up warn.
It's amazing. It's amazing how you write down warn amend and then you end up just being like, I warn it.
Look,
I've
it's
done
because it's not horrible to look at a scantily clad Christina Applegate and Cameron Diaz.
That's very true.
All right, that's the only saving grace. She gets a dick in the eye.
Okay.
Yeah, and he warned the sweetest thing. We don't need to hear any more jokes about cum and peens right now. We've had enough of that. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. If you want to keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter and Music Video Sins Twitter and SoundCloud. We're also on Discord. So go on to those badass places and give your comments. That's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sherrill. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
And I am this way because of Michael Moore. Michael Moore made me this way.
Yeah, although Michael Moore always inserts himself into the story of the documentary. That's what gets upsetting about him is like, Roger and Me, which is still his best documentary, I think.
Absolutely.
Even that one, he's like the end of it. He's like trying to get into Ford's headquarters and everything, and trying to be part of the story.
You're Adele singing "The Rolling in the Deep."
Oh yeah, was it good?
Aces.
Nice. Pretty happy with that one.
He did the throat clear, and he was like, "You could have."
I went up there.
Nice.
Climbed.
Did you ever see that Herb Welch, Bill Hader character on SNL, the old reporter?
I probably have, but I don't remember.
He's got those big Harry Carey glasses, and he's got the microphone all the way up here. And he's like, "All right, what happened?" And the joke is that he's old and senile and racist and stuff like that. So there's one with Emma Stone where they're outside an apartment, and Emma Stone's like, "There's my super right there. You can talk to her." And he goes over, and Kristen Wiig is dressed like real dowdy. And he goes over and he's like, "All right, sir, what happened?" And she's like, "I am a woman." Mm-hmm. And so he does this thing. He's like, "Oh, yeah." And so he takes a microphone and he goes, boom, and he's going up against her boobs. Yeah. He's like, then he starts hitting her crotch. And he's like, Jesus. And then he starts cracking up because he's Bill Hader.
Yeah. That's another thing. Bill Hader, I guess because he was so supremely talented, always got away with that, where Jimmy Fallon didn't.
You're right. Yeah.
People like Jimmy Fallon doing that, but they didn't like Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, this is
a
weird
people
thing
like,
about Jimmy Fallon. He's like the Coldplay of SNL performers.
Yeah.
Everybody likes him, but everybody says they hate him.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's true.
He's not, there's nothing to hate about that guy.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen The Hate, it's he laughs at his own jokes. And like you said, well, fucking Carol Burnett used to do that all the time, asshat.
Yeah. And Will Ferrell even would crack up.
Every once in a while he would. It was the leather, the hot tub scene with Jimmy Fallon, actually. Because Fallon and Drew Barrymore were cracking up. Mm-hmm. And he was like, who was with him? Rachel Dratch. And he's like, we went out to the countryside and ate some grilled goat meat. We were naked as the fat dribbled down our chins. And then he started laughing.
There's that one where they're at a clothing store, real swank clothing store. I think it's Chris Kattan, maybe.
No, well, it's Jimmy Fallon is in that one too.
Oh yeah,
and the guest is not the guy that played Jack on Will and Grace.
Jack
not
his
Jack.
Name
McBrayer.
is Jack, isn't it?
The guy. You mean
Sean
Hayes?
Sean Hayes. Yeah.
And he comes in and he starts telling them stuff or whatever. It's real funny, but then he pulls out that tiny phone. He's
in like a motor scooter or something like that.
And they both bust out. I think he nearly busts out.
I'll do that with The Office too. Apparently, Krasinski was the worst in The Office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's so dry on the show. But
I don't understand why people don't like that more. Like on the Seinfeld episodes, you can tell when Jerry's about to break because he is the least professional of all of them.
His voice gets all high.
And so more of his near breaks make it into final episodes than anyone else. And sometimes he'll grin right before punchline and that's funnier to me.
It is.
Yeah.
Than if he'd have done it straight. I don't understand people who view it the other way.
Well, it's like the in Boogie Nights when Philip Baker Hall does that whole thing where he's like, I'm a simple man. I like butter in my ass, lollipops in my mouth. You can see Robert Ridgely in the background. He's blurred out a little bit, but he's like,
well, because he delivers it so straight.
yeah.
And Burt Reynolds doesn't crack at all either. It's like, this is a normal conversation that people have.
Yeah. And Robert Ridgely is not acting. He's laughing his ass off.
You got to buy that shit.
Yeah.
You got to pwn it.
I'm so spoiled, though. If it's not on Netflix or Amazon,
You've already
Hulu.
given in.
Like Hulu.
You've already given in. You've already given in to the age of no more owning movies.
Pretty much. I mean, I have movies, but I just don't.
I mean,
don't
from this
typically
point
pop
forward,
them out.
you're not going to own any movies.
The only, yeah, probably not. The only one that I actually still pop in because it's not on anything except for maybe Paramount Plus, which I'm not going to get, is The Godfather. Like I'll put that in. I'll put that in.
I am actually
with my dick.
not sure if Paramount Plus does have that. I mean, they should, but maybe I don't know if they do.
There's probably some reason
I
they don't.
wonder, do they have all the Mission Impossibles? Because some of those are on Prime, and some of those.
Due to technology, I can find this out.
Oh, no.
Lovely.
I was not expecting that.
I had a minute where I was thinking about Paramount Plus, but it just wasn't worth it. Because I wanted to watch, like, The Challenge.
And,
I haven't gotten
and you
that
want to
one.
watch that new iCarly, too.
Jesus. I mean, the Star Trek should have done it for me, but they haven't. Wait, is Paramount Plus and CBS All Access different?
No.
It's the same thing, though, right?
It absorbed
That's what
CBS.
I thought. So, and I'm a Trek man. I should be watching those Treks, but that hasn't moved the needle. I mean, I know I'm going to watch that Picard series at some point. Here's the problem. All my urgency is gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
I have a list 200 titles long of movies and shows I know are great. Stranger Things. Never watched it. Know I will eventually. Know it'll be great. I have zero urgency because I'm that confident it's great, and I'm that confident something else I might watch could be great.
Yeah. And plus, you really invest when you're taking on a series, too.
But yeah, even with a movie, though, even with just a single, even with just
Hard to pull the trigger.
just a oneer, yeah.
You'll watch The Martian for the 60th time.
I'm going to have just as good a time.
It appears that no Godfathers are on there, and 4 of the Mission Impossibles are on there. No Rogue Nation,
That's what you call stupid contracts.
No Fallout?
and no Fallout.
Because the last 2 are on Prime. It's funny. For the longest time, and they may still be, there were still MCU movies on Prime.
And that might be the reason why it's not on Paramount right now, is because
it's all the exclusive stuff.
they Prime's got them now. That's the reason why there's always those, like when Disney's pulling their stuff from Netflix. There's like a time period, instead of them just yanking it right then and there. But
Yank.
Yank.
oh yeah,
I'm going to yank it right here now.
I was at a poker game, cash game Friday, and I had been there the previous Friday, and the host had these Gatorades that were just, they were so beautifulully cold.
Oh, nice.
And just,
And nothing like a cold Gatorade.
Oh, man, it was awesome. And he gave me another one on this past Friday, and I go, I love these. It's so cold going down your throat and everything. Of course, somebody has to be like, what does that mean, down your throat, blah, 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 just being a joker. And I was like, I don't know, man. You can take it any way you want. Sounds like you take it any way you want too.
Oh,
And it's like,
Jesus
okay,
Christ,
all right, okay, yeah. I just don't respond to those.
No.
That's like the Steve Carell version of like social joking, only when he's in the bookstore and he's just answers every question with a question.
Yeah.
That's the style of humor that is.
Yeah.
How would
Be like-
you like me to put
Be
it
like
in?
David Caruso and Jade.
I was watching that for the first time in forever the other night, man. That's, like, none of those actors have aged, except for Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen looks like a fucking... what did I liken him to? Because he's all gray now, and he wears cardigans.
Yeah.
And he looks like a pervy college professor or something like that.
He's like 22 years old in that movie.
Wow.
21 or 22, somewhere around there.
And he looks... That's the only time I've ever seen him not look like Seth Rogen.
He kind of looks butch.
He does, because he's got the thing, and he's always doing, like, he's got the tattoos.
Yeah.
Big old goatee.
Yeah.
And now he looks like Seth Rogen.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess he's making enough money on this weed that and producing that he doesn't have to.
I don't know.
He hasn't been in anything.
That
in a
dude
while.
didn't have to start a weed company to make money. Like that dude was already set for life.
Yeah, his pottery sucks. I hate to say it.
Everybody says it's awesome.
Have you seen it?
No,
it's not. Not very good.
That's probably not a better place for all those incarcerated black kids who got arrested for a dime bag.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's unfair out there.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to see a bunch of rich, white, famous people
hawking weed,
making
Jim Belushi.
money left and right on weed.
Yeah. I don't get it. It's they like talking to that guy Mustafa. What's his name?
Yeah, I know you're talking about
from Takeout Girl, where he's like, "This is a whole different America that I grew up in." Mm-hmm. Like, man, I need to listen to that a lot more, man.
Yeah, I follow the historian Kevin Cruz on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, that's basically the only. If he doesn't have anything, then I just, I'll look at some trending things, but that's the only guy that I really follow. But he wrote a thing for MSNBC. He said Martin Luther King was more than just his one quote that you guys keep coming out, with. And so guess what? He got a whole bunch of people who kept reminding him of that quote, and he would always come back. Thank you for proving the point of the article that you didn't read, because the article is titled explicitly. He was more than just this one line.
Jesus Christ!
Because everybody's got it in their heads that critical race theory teaches people to hate a certain race, which it does not.
I listened to a 30-minute report on that the other day.
And you don't learn it in kindergarten through 12th grade either. You learned it in law school. That's all you ever learn, critical race theory.
No, but if we make it a big bugaboo demon, we can scare everybody into going to school board meetings and screaming.
Yeah. Well, now critical race theory is everything that you don't like about.
Exactly. Exactly. It's everything you don't want them to teach is lumped into that. I saw a funny tweet the other day that said, I didn't ever learn about this stuff in school. Bitch, yeah, you did. You were busy drawing an eye. I thought that was very funny because I think every class I ever had, there was somebody drawing an eyeball. Every single one.
Yeah.
And that person missed out. But at the same time, we didn't learn all this. We didn't learn all of it. We didn't learn all of it. Mm-mm. This is why I'm incensed. I'm not really incensed. I don't have kids. But if I had kids, I would be incensed because I didn't learn everything. And they didn't just keep Black Wall Street Massacre from me. I never learned about that in school. Nope. But they also kept everybody who rode with Paul Revere from me. They only taught me Paul Revere. That's the only guy who ever did this. Wrong. Yep. What else don't I know? You sent us a thing about the first black woman to sit on the front of the bus. Yeah, and there was a woman before her. Yeah, but we just didn't know about her.
Yeah.
This is the same. This is how the Juneteenth holiday happened, is that slavery was ended, but it didn't actually end for 2 more years.
Exactly.
Because things take time to work their way through the culture.
Talk about proving a point, man. That should prove the point that we need to learn more about this stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first time I heard about Juneteenth was that interview with Channing Gafford.
Same here.
Yeah.
That's the first time I had ever heard of it. And then the Tulsa Massacre was Watchmen was the first time I had ever heard of it.
A goddamn comic book TV show taught me a key moment of American history that my fucking textbook didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This shit's been going on for 40, 50 years in terms of what they put in and what they take out of the textbook. And don't get me started on the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Was that originally, the first was Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
They used that?
Yeah. And then the Simpsons did it later with Stonecutters episode, I think.
Yes.
And,
Stonecutters.
Somebody else did it with Oreos.
Oh,
yes.
Oreos. Yeah,
Oreos. I don't remember what that was, but I know it was in a show.
It was a thing.
I think it was an ad for Oreos.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like a Family Guy episode or some kind of shitty-ass Crudes 2 or something.
Angry Birds 2.
I believe Chris is already well on his way to finding an answer.
Thankfully, we have technology. The same technology where we figured out what show Haley Kiyoko was in a threesome in.
Yes.
That was before
that
you
was
got
a
here.
thing.
Who?
Hayley Kiyoko, singer / actress / Instagram person.
What's the movie?
Queer icon. It's Insecure, the show. The Issa Rae show on HBO. But we were watching a music video, and Chris was saying there was some show in which she was in a threesome, and we looked it up, and it was Insecure.
Nice.
Does the short before Wreck-It Ralph ring a bell?
No, is that what they're saying it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's called March of the Oreos. It's a short song. Song featured in Disney's 2012 animated feature film Wreck-It Ralph. It is sung by King Candy's Oreo Guards.
There it is. It's in the movie
Yes.
itself.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Yes.
It's
I thought it was a short
movie.
Yep.
Way better than Crudes 2.
That's right.
What if we have a gremlin that's a lightning bolt? It's in the movie.
And I love at the end, all of that stuff is in the movie.
Everybody left and I'm alone in the room right now and everybody's gone, so sing a song. Look at my news app and read the headlines. What's going on? A dangerous heat wave out in the west, and Quentin Tarantino's book is the best, and Gal Gadot welcomes a baby, and darkness falls on the Trump movement. Controversy with the 90-Day Fiancé. James Gunn offered to help with the cost after raccoon damages a woman's house. That's a fucked up story I just now realized. Tom Brady has some golf balls with his self-love all over them. And there's another heat wave article. A heat wave must be bad. And then there's a fourth.
Oh, yeah?
What? Hi. I wasn't singing.
I haven't even watched Top Chef from last week.
Oh, interesting. Now the roles are reversed because I did.
Is it good?
Yes.
I guess that's all there is to say.
I think you're going to need a new pair of jeans, Barrett.
They're so comfortable, though.
I mean, even in the back, you got another one of these happening.
Oh, in the ass?
Yeah, on your pocket. Like I can see your panties.
Panties.
Where? Which side?
I'm not going to touch it. Right side.
Right
Top left. Yeah. You can feel the hole. Yeah.
Hello, nurse.
Yeah.